WrestleZone presents Lost in the Midcard. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Bennett and Matt Black.
Oh, yeah, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast where, thanks to timeless Tony Storm, we get to think about titless Barbies. It's Lost in the Midcard. I don't know. I don't know. This might be our final show of the year. I don't know yet. We'll talk about New Year's Day. Obviously, we'll be off next week as everybody's celebrating Christmas. But
yeah,
we're
not
talk
going to be
about
here.
that.
We're not going to be here on Christmas. You guys won't be here on Christmas either. So
No.
what would be the point?
No.
I mean, maybe we'll do like a taped episode.
Well, we got to do the Marquees too.
Yeah, I was like, maybe we'll do like a tape Marquees,
or we could do the Marquees on January 1st
something
too.
like that. I don't know.
Or we could do the Marquees.
We'll figure it out, people.
We'll figure it out. Marquees coming up though. We got to do nominations and such yet and all that fun jazz. That could be our show. We could maybe do a taped one of nominations and then do our live winners or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We'll
figure it out.
And as my right ear does not like to hold earbuds for some damn reason. I don't know why. But anyways. Oh, welcome. We got a lot to talk about today. Of course, on the heels of Final Battle, Ring of Honor's pay-per-view on Friday. Some injury news, some return news, some contract news, and a lot of speculation thanks to a certain head honcho. We'll get into all that and much more. But first, if you have not done so already, search WrestleZone on the YouTube, all one word, and subscribe. And make sure you hit that bell notification. Share this out to everybody so we can have everybody, lots of people join us every Monday live, 7:10 Eastern, 6:10 Central. So make sure you join us there. Follow us on the Twitter at LITMC Podcast for the podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook. If you search for Lost in the Midcard, we're there as well. Individually, you can follow us on the Twitter. I am on the Twitter at JB Huskers, and as always, my co-host, Mr. Matt Black, on the Twitter at Raw F Showtime. Matt, how's it going?
Man, it's been a crazy week in professional wrestling, and man, a lot of it surrounds the supposed cold company, AEW, because a lot of things AEW centric went down in the past week, and everybody's talking about that company right now. So it's definitely a very interesting time as we head into 2024, which somehow, some way, I believe it's going to be even crazier than 2023, which is hard to believe. It seems like the last 2 to 3 years have continually trumped itself on, can you top this in the world of professional wrestling? And it looks like we're gearing up for a ridiculous year in 2024.
Yeah, the tail end of that, we'll have we'll have shows changing channels. SmackDown going back to USA. Where was NXT going again?
NXT is going to the CW.
CW. Raw is not even
you know
been
where
announced
NWA
yet.
was going to go before they did cocaine.
Oh yes, and Raw. I guess the leader in the clubhouse could be FX. Still not confirmed yet.
I think the top three, personally, in no particular order: FX, Amazon Prime, or USA makes the play to keep them. I think those are your three top destinations for Raw. Although Amazon would work perfectly for them if they went Prime, because they could say they have one show on cable, one show on network television, and one show on streaming. So they pretty much nail the trifecta with their three shows if they end up on Amazon. And Amazon, really, all they have right now is the NFL, like Thursday Night Football, in terms of live programming. So I think like an addition of something like Monday Night Raw would be a huge boost to people tuning into Prime to watch, live television programming.
Yeah, it's weird. It's just weird that Fox wouldn't want to renew SmackDown because it's gotten solid numbers, especially for a Friday night. They've provided a consistent showing there.
They based Fox like one of the top people at Fox basically said they weren't getting the return on their investment that they paid, and the
Yeah,
advertising revenue that they would expect on a show that garners that type of viewership just wasn't there for them. So, like WWE
hey,
was looking for more money, and Fox is like, "We feel like we paid you too much already."
yeah.
So, and now that the Fox deal is gone. So, I mean, it's really just as simple as that.
At the end of the day, it could be everything on USA once again, just because that's NBC Universal.
Well, they've officially lost NXT. They can't get that back.
True.
But Raw and SmackDown could easily be on USA again. If USA wants to pay out the money and maybe CM Punk change things, maybe the addition of Punk being a part of Raw, maybe incentivized USA to go, hey, we'll step forward and we'll give you guys what you were asking for
Yeah.
and come back home. And I think that would open up a lot more, crossover between Raw and SmackDown, even more so than we have now,
Yeah. Yeah.
because both shows on the same network. Everything's out the window at that point.
Yeah, and you don't have two separate network heads complaining about who they're got or who they want to keep on their show and
Exactly.
things like that. What's up to the chat? Ozzy, Steven Chambers, MKD, Mark Cho, Frantic World. Thanks for joining.
Lots of people in the chat tonight.
Going to the chat. MK says Raw's going to Amazon Prime, while Steven Chambers says he'd rather have Raw on USA personally. I have Amazon Prime. I would hate it, but at the same time, I would rather it be on USA personally. I don't know. It depends. I guess
we will be talking about this today.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
MK, I promise we will be talking about who the potential big TNA signing is. So it's on the docket.
Let's see. Ozzy says, "What is going to happen to the WWE pay-per-view on Peacock?" Well, it's going to stay there because everything's under.
They're Peacock's not their contract with Peacock's not up for another year or two.
Yeah,
I think they got another 2 to 3 years on that maybe. Don't quote me on that for 100%, but it's at least they got another couple years on the Peacock deal with WWE. So that's not going anywhere. You don't have to worry about that for now.
I just wish AEW would quit dicking around and put the pay-per-views on Max.
Well, I mean that's going to come with their new media rights deal. I don't think it's AEW dicking around as much as it's the back and forth between them and Warner Brothers Discovery, because I think Tony Khan's smart enough to know that the pay-per-view streaming on Max is a valuable addition to Max and to Warner Brothers Discovery, and they want to make sure they're properly paid for it. So
yeah. MK says, who does Jericho pick as his new partner for World's End? I don't know. Big Show hasn't been seen since he got power slammed by Hobbs. I don't know, really. I
heard Paul White's still dealing with some kind of knee issue or something. So I don't predict it to be him. I would not be surprised if they just go in an entirely different direction and they eliminate Jericho out of that match entirely. And then maybe they put him in something with, Powerhouse and Takeshita and stuff like that. Maybe they do like Jericho and Kota Ibushi against Powerhouse Hobbs and Takeshita or something. Like I
could do Kota. Yeah.
I don't feel Jericho against Ricky and Bill right now works without Omega. And I feel like they're going to have to pivot from that.
A lot of people.
It all heavily depends on, the health of Kenny Omega, which I guess we should, get right into because that's our lead story.
Yeah, that is our lead. Kenny Omega, of course, did not look well on Wednesday. And a lot of people really panning that promo segment between Big Bill, Ricky Starks, Jericho, and Kenny Omega. I don't know. The crowd seemed to love it, especially the Enzo Amore stuff. So, but it seemed like a lot of people on the internet were panning it. But then Kenny takes to Twitter just a few days ago here, literally just a few days ago on the 15th, which was this past Friday, and announced that he is out indefinitely. He said on Twitter, I can't really sugarcoat this. I'm out indefinitely. I tried to keep pushing past the pain for as long as I could until it became too much. Luckily, doctors caught me when they did, so I'll be here in the meantime. Please enjoy wrestling. Later on, we find out that Kenny Omega has diverticulitis, which is ironic in some parts because that's actually a move in AEW Fight Forever. Also, it is something that Brock Lesnar fought through. I think he fought through that when he was in UFC, not WWE. Am I correct?
UFC, correct.
Yeah. But they use they call the F5 in the AEW video game diverticulitis, and Omega came out and said that he had nothing to do with that.
No, that's what Ukes called the move in their previous games before.
Did they?
Yeah, before Brock was back with the company. I mean, that's
Yeah.
If you go way far back and look up the F5 when Brock's on in the WWE games, that's what it was called. So I mean, that wasn't an AEW thing. That was the Ukes thing.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, and who really know? Like, he says he's out indefinitely, but if he doesn't have to have surgery, he might be okay in a few weeks. Like, I'm not saying he's going to be good to go for World's End, but he might be back in. He might be back in okay in early 2024. If he has to have surgery, he's out for at least 3 months.
Well, the issue was with Brock. He fought a UFC fight with that and then got absolutely destroyed. I think it was Alistair Overeem that just absolutely destroyed him.
I think so. I'm not 100. I don't recall 100%. You might be right on Overeem on that.
Antoine, thanks for joining us. He chats in just now. Could Jericho get Sammy to help or do a number one contenders match for the tag titles? I think Sammy is still hurt.
No, Sammy's been cleared, but Sammy's part of the Don Callis family. They just haven't brought him back to TV. I mean, Ty just had her baby. Yeah. Like, there's really no reason to rush Sammy back to TV right now. Let him be home. Let him be a dad for a bit. Like, I don't see Sammy being an answer for Jericho whatsoever.
I don't know. It just seems like with Omega out, the story's dead. Kota Ibushi possibly. I mean, make up with Jake Hager, but I mean, he never wins, so it's not really going to be a threat. Maybe make up with Daniel Garcia, but he's been on a losing streak. He hasn't won a damn.
If they wanted to do a throwaway funny ha-ha thing, well, not even funny fun, like a cheap pop thing, they could tag Jericho up with one of the recently released WWE guys that are going to be free by World's End. And they could just say Jericho and a mystery partner, and they could bring in Shelton Benjamin or something like that.
Dolph Ziggler.
To do the match. Ziggler. I figure if Dolph is coming in, he's coming in to be with his brother. He's not coming in to tag with Jericho. So,
but it could be a one-off thing with Jericho. Then he joins his brother. Shelton Benjamin would be great too. I think Ziggler would be a big pop. Ziggler's going to be free.
There you go. That's what Brian Cage called his F5.
Oh, okay.
I can
but diverticulitis.
Yes, it's a very hard word to pronounce.
Yeah, I can't say shoulder surgery, so that's all right.
That's possible.
Hey, bro, he was just at the
MMA bro. I mean, they could do Jarrah bro. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if AEW needs Matt Riddle right now.
Shout out to my friend Tracy Lee, who's a MMA photographer. She got a party with Matt Riddle this past weekend, so I'm a little jealous. Stephen Chambers in the chat says top dollar. Just kidding. I think he's heading to GCW very soon. So
yeah, like all those talents are free for World's End. Like if AEW wants to bring any of those guys in, they are available for that pay-per-view.
Yeah.
I just don't see, like, Benjamin's the one that makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. Ziggler's date is literally now just up, I think. It was like latter part of December is when he was free.
I think it's December 21st for everybody. I
it for
think
everybody?
that's the date across the board was December 21st. It may be
Yeah.
December 22nd for Riddle, so I feel like Riddle got released like a day later. It was very weird. It was like he was just a solo release 24 hours later. But yeah, I mean they would all be technically free for World's End. I don't think there's enough interest there. Without Omega, I had little desire to see Ricky Starks and Big Bill against the Golden Jets to begin with. And now without Omega, I have negative zero interest in
Watch
seeing
him.
this match. So
Watch him bring in Enzo
I
Amore.
was dude, you literally just read my mind. You literally just freaking read my mind. I was like, oh my God, they're going to freaking call Enzo.
That would be
Oh
hilarious.
God.
That would be hilarious.
Dude, that's what that. If they do anything, that's what they're doing. It's going to be Jericho and Enzo against Big Bill and Ricky Starks at World's End.
Oh, nice.
I would not be the slightest bit surprised if that's what ends up happening.
Whoever's helped maintain the AEW World's End page has actually got the Continental Classic standings updated. So there, I could trust that at least. I know it's right. I'm looking at the numbers right now. I know it's right. So we'll get into that a little later. But before we get to the AEW Continental Classic, let's move on to the only PLE that happened, the last PLE of the year, which was with Ring of Honor. It was exclusively on Honor Club. It was Final Battle. Final Battle, we had a couple 0-hour matches, including Taya Valkyrie taking on Jasmine Allure, who you saw Jasmine Allure later on I think Rampage.
Collision.
Was it Collision?
Yeah.
The Von Erichs.
They had two women's matches on Collision Saturday.
The Von
A
Erichs
lot of
took
people
on
were
those.
very happy about.
Yeah, the Von Erichs took on those 80s dudes, the Outrunners. And then Brian Keith, of course, a big guy, a guy that's probably going to get signed by AEW sooner or later, but he's also from Texas. So obviously a big pop for Brian Keith. He took on Jack Cartwheel, who you've seen in GCW in the past as well. Daniel Garcia also took on another GCW guy, former, or is he still the current champion? He might still be the current GCW champion. I haven't caught up with GCW in so long, I forget. But
he lost that to
Big Gage got it again?
No, he lost it to the girl from
Masha.
Impact. Yes, Masha Slamovich beat him.
He got it back.
Oh, he got it back. I didn't even say. I'm not following close enough to know that.
No. Nick Gage lost it to Masha.
Yeah.
Blake Christian beat Masha for it back in June. So Blake Christian is a 200 days GCW champion.
I can't keep track of GCW right now. There's too much pro wrestling on a weekly basis. I can't keep track of it all. I literally it's my literal job, and I cannot keep track of the sheer amount of professional wrestling that's played on a weekly basis in 2023. It's staggering.
I'm gone most weekends. Like I don't even watch Collision and SmackDown until Monday. So yeah, I haven't watched a GCW show in a while because I'm just usually gone, either DJing or out. I'm just not around on the weekends hardly anymore. The main show kicked off the singles match for the AAA Mega Championship. Black Taurus, who you've seen on Impact Wrestling quite a bit, took on Elio del Vikingo, another guy that hopefully AEW gets signed sometime soon. What'd you think of that match?
I thought it was a great opener. I thought it was a good way to kick off the show. I mean, you're not going to go wrong with the Vikingo match.
Jesus, that 6-man on Rampage.
Oh my God, dude. One of the craziest trios matches I've ever seen. Unbelievable.
So is Black Taurus not with Impact anymore?
Well, I don't know if Black Taurus was ever signed to an Impact contract.
Oh, was he a per appearance thing?
I think he was working with them as a deal through AAA. Don't quote me on that. I'm pretty sure he's a AAA contracted talent, and he worked Impact regularly, as a deal with them. So I think that's the case. I haven't heard anything about him not working for Impact anymore, but yeah, the match with him and Vikingo was freaking awesome. So
Mogul Embassy retained their 6-man ROH tag titles by defeating TMDK. Ethan Page, Tony Nese in an I Quit match that went 20 minutes. I assume that was a good match. I didn't get to watch Final Battle, but if those two guys who are technically sound in the ring, Tony Nese doesn't get as much credit as he deserves. They went 20 minutes in an I Quit match. I got to say that had to have been good, right?
There was a little bit of there was a couple eye roll worthy moments in the match. Like Ethan Page had dumb babyface syndrome, and he wouldn't stop focusing on Mark Sterling, even though he's handcuffed to the ring post when he should be focusing on Nese. And that kept allowing Nese to get like the upper hand back in the match. And I'm like, Page, stop being so stupid. But no, it was a great match. Scorpio Sky returned, helped even the odds. You know, Page won the match. It was very good. Big moment for Page. Mark Henry made a cameo appearance to force Mark Sterling to handcuff himself on the ring post, and then he held up both Sky and Page's arms after the match on the stage. Big endorsement for the world's strongest man. I love Ethan Page. Like I was very happy to see him get the spotlight. And if Men of the Year are back without Dan Lambert, let's fucking go. I'm excited about them. I loved those guys together. The only thing I didn't like about that group was Dan Lambert talking for those two guys who never needed a mouthpiece to begin with.
No, I mean, I like Dan Lambert. He was a great heel, but yeah, I agree with you on that. Nyla Rose destroying an indie favorite of mine, Vert Vixen. Then we have your typical ROH survival of the fittest match with Brian Keith, Commander, Lee Moriarty, Dalton Castle, Lee Johnson, Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher wins the survival of the fittest for the vacant ROH TV title. I bet with everybody involved there, that match didn't suck.
The final two men, when it came down to Fletcher and Commander, if you watch nothing else from that match, which is still, the match was very good top to bottom. But if you just go back on Honor Club and you just watch from the moment where it's just Commander versus Fletcher, holy hell, like, I want to see those guys have a rematch for that television title as soon as humanly possible. It was freaking fantastic. Very, very good.
Wheeler Yuta defeating filthy Tom Lawler by pinfall to retain the Pure Rules title. Keith Lee defeated Shane Taylor in a grudge match there. And Jay Briscoe Memorial Fight Without Honor match between Dim Top Guys, FTR, and Mark Briscoe against the Blackpool Combat Club. I'm going to guess there was blood there.
Well, it started out as a standard 6-man tag. And then, like, at some point in the match, all hell broke loose and the referee threw it out. And Mark's like, nah, we're not doing this we're doing this for Jay. We're going to restart the match as a Fight Without Honor. And they restarted the match. Dude, it was crazy. Crazy match. Yeah. Very, very good. Mark Briscoe got the pin on Bryan Danielson. Hit him with the Jay Driller on a bunch of steel chairs. Freaking awesome match. Awesome match. Very fitting to tribute to Jay, who's gone way too freaking soon. And it was a very fitting, beautiful tribute from those 6 men. And I'm sure Jay was looking down and was very happy with the tribute they put out for him on Friday night.
Yeah, coming almost next month be a year already since that happened, unfortunately. Proving ground match, Anthony Henry against Eddie Kingston. He had the last 10 minutes to earn a world championship. He did not. He only lasted 5.5. And Athena, Billy Starks. Was that the main event?
Yeah, Athena and Billy Starks closed the show. Very, very good match. Excellent match.
Went about 30 minutes there.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts from Final Battle?
My only critique of Final Battles, to me, the event was too long. It was slightly longer than your average AEW pay-per-view.
14 matches.
You had the 0 hour from 7 to 8. Then you had a 4+ hour pay-per-view. And the problem I have with that is a quarter of the pay-per-view, the matches were announced within the final 24 hours. Eddie Kingston and the Eddie Kingston match was announced on 0 hour, like minutes before the freaking event started, because Tony's backstage and he's like, "Why am I not fighting?" And Tony's like, "Well, you're fighting on Collision tomorrow." And he's like, "I want to fight." And then they set up that match. That was my only critique of Final Battle. It was a little too long because they waited way too long to put all these matches announced. Like they could have announced at least a few of those matches on the actual Ring of Honor television show Thursday night, but they didn't. This was all announced on social media by Tony Khan hours after the show went off the air. It was very weird. It
just continues to show that it seems like ROH is an afterthought. But
I think that's about to change.
Hope so.
I really do. I think that's going to change next year.
Going back into the chat, Stephen Chambers, great match, Athena and Billy Starks. The Von Erichs, MK saying the Von Erichs had a great weekend in AEW and ROHS. Pretty cool to see them. Are they in MLW?
They were a while ago. They're not anymore.
Greg Bush in the chat. Always good to hear from Greg. Black Taurus getting his shine. Love to see it. Stephen Chambers saying cool to see Scorpio Sky back. And Frantic World saying I really like the ROH Final Battle pay-per-view. The Survival of the Fist match was so good. Tony needs to sign Brian Keith ASAP. Very much
100%. If he's not already signed, he needs to be.
That dude is.
I completely agree.
He's a beast. He was, I think he was number 2 in the PWI 500 this year.
He was number 1 in the BW 500 that Righteous Reg does. So talk about being ahead of the curve.
Yep.
Like he was trying to tell y'all, this man needs to be signed somewhere. And I honestly, TK would be crazy not to sign Brian Keith if he hasn't already.
Exactly. Greg Bush in the chat. Athena's been the MVP of ROH this year. She's been fantastic. Yes, definitely. Stephen Chambers, why the ROH media scrum almost 2 hours? Yeah, I saw that on YouTube. I was like, that really went an hour.
It took forever for them to even start. Like it took a good 30 to 40 minutes after the pay-per-view was over for that freaking media scrum to even start. And then I think it went probably almost 2 hours after it started. So it was a long one, but we got some good answers from Tony out of it, so I'm not really complaining.
Moving on to a big return that happened this Saturday on Collision, and that was none other than Thunder Rosa. Hey, we just talked about her on the podcast last week about how she's ready to go whenever she's getting called. I thought it was a little weird that they showed her on commentary for the Spanish language commentary. And
they foreshadowed it. I mean, why else should she be coming through the crowd like they did?
Yeah.
They perfectly set it up. When they showed her on commentary, I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see her do something tonight. I liked that.
We finally get the pairing of Sky Blue, which is, I guess, now going to be going by Sky Black.
Well, that's what Nigel said. I take anything Nigel says on commentary with a grain of salt. I'm not trusting that her real name is Sky Black. The match graphics for next week still refer to her as Sky Blue. So I'll wait for an official announcement if that actually happening. But that should be an awesome tag match next week. I don't think it'll be as awesome as that Texas street fight we had on Collision Saturday night, because that match was bonkers, dude.
Yeah, it was. So Sky and Julia attacking Abaddon, Thunder Rosa coming to make the save, and they shake hands. Something you don't ever see. I've never seen with Abaddon really is someone coming to her aid, coming to her side, shaking hands with her. Very interesting. But obviously, I think the work that Abaddon's put in has shown, and now she's ready to shine. Tony has been pushing her a lot, and now you're seeing her on Collision on a regular basis. I don't think she's going to beat Julia Hart for the TBS title, but
yeah, I expect Julia to have a long reign. But I wouldn't be surprised if Thunder Rosa is the one to take the title from Julia Hart.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like if they're not ready to put Thunder right back in the women's title picture, which I mean technically where she should be since she never lost it. But if they're not ready to do that, I could easily see Thunder is the one to dethrone Julia for that TBS title, maybe by like Revolution or something.
I saw the thumbnail for tonight's show, and I had not watched, or I saw it the other day, and I had not yet watched Collision, and I'm like, did not recognize Thunder Rosa with blonde hair at first. That was a little different. I'm like, who is that? I was like, oh yeah, I knew she returned. I got spoiled on that, but you got to think that's the direction that they're going, Steven.
Yeah, House of Black and FTR. If that doesn't happen at World's End, I'd be shocked. I would absolutely be shocked. But personally, I loved Collision last night. I mean, not last night, but Saturday night. Collision was my favorite show of the week out of everything. Like, I just thought from top to bottom, that was a perfect show. And I was done watching Collision. I was freaking amped up. Like, I thought that was fantastic. And man, we've been talking about this for months, but I'm so happy, JB. We're finally going to get Keith Lee versus Swerve.
Yep.
It's finally happening.
I told you that was the guy he was talking about.
So excited. So excited.
Do you foresee, speaking of Collision, do you foresee a trios title change? Do you think
against Top Flight and Action Andretti? I'd do it. I'd have the Devil's Goons cost the Acclaim the match.
I think that's a great team to put the titles on.
This might be an unpopular opinion right now, but I think the Acclaimed are ice cold right now. And I think
they've been gone.
I think they need her. Oh, dude, I thought they were ice cold before they were gone.
Yeah.
And I think they could benefit from a refresh in their story. Yeah. I would not hate at all if Top Flight and Action Andretti took those trios titles from them on Collision next week and have it happen because of interference from the Devil's Goons. That's how I would book it.
Yeah, as soon as Top Flight got back together, and obviously Darius has been teaming with Andretti while his brother was out. I mean, those three together were tremendous, and the fact that they beat three of the best luchadors in the world this past week, you know, I honestly think that's a good team to put the trios titles on.
After I saw what they did on Rampage, I was sold. Yeah. I was like strap them up, and let these three youngsters just have barn burners with anybody on any given week. I'd be freaking stoked to see that happen.
Yeah, as Greg Bush says, great to have Top Flight back again. Putting Andretti with him is perfect. Agreed on the title swap. Just let those guys fly and wow crowds. Yeah, that 6-man on Collision or on Rampage was just beautiful. Moving on today on Busted Open, Scott D'Amore was on there talking about TNA Hard to Kill, which is not too far away, less than a month away. January 13th on pay-per-view, the return of TNA. And Scott had something interesting to say on Busted Open Radio today. He said, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have surprises for you, but some unexpected things, including we are right there at the goal line of finalizing one of, I think, the biggest signings in TNA. I think it's something that's really going to shake things up on January 13th. If you've been saying, I'm looking for something different, we're going to give you a lot. Something we have in store for you that night is going to blow your socks off. I immediately thought of the probably biggest free agent out there right now, Mercedes Moné. I wouldn't be surprised, and I told you this earlier, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of a handshake deal between Tony and Scott, and maybe you see a Samoa Joe on this show. But I think he's talking about. But I think he's talking about with what he's talking about on his quote on Busted Open.
It sounds like a signing.
Well, it's a signing, but I'm saying outside of this quote.
Well, yeah, he teased multiple surprises for the show.
I would say I wouldn't be surprised if Joe. Man, wouldn't it be a trip Wouldn't it be a trip if Trips lets AJ go over there for one night?
Okay, this is the order when I saw things this morning. The first thing I saw was the Worlds Collide graphic for Hard to Kill that they put on their social media pages following Scott's interview on Busted Open. And when they said Worlds were going to collide at Hard to Kill, you won't believe who's showing up. I was thinking, oh shit, TNA's now streaming on Endeavor. Endeavor owns WWE. What if AJ Styles is showing up at Hard to Kill? That was my first initial gut instinct based on the graphic. Then I heard Scott's quote. I loaded up Busted Open, listened to the interview, heard the quote, and I'm like, well, that sounds more like a signing. And the way they're hyping it, JB, you're dead on balls accurate. To me, there's nobody it could be other than Mercedes Moné. There's nobody else that's a free agent that would garner the type of hype and build that Scott was putting into this act. It has
if they didn't already,
if it's not Mercedes, they've already shot themselves in the foot, and it's going to be the first LOL TNA meme of 2024. This signing has to deliver. It has to be a big name. It can't be Shelton Benjamin. It can't be Mustafa Ali. It can't be Dolph Ziggler. It can't be Matt Riddle. It can't be any of those guys. It has to be someone on the level of a Mercedes Moné, or even, like, heaven forbid, a Goldberg. It has to be a big marquee name that people stop and go, damn, I can't believe TNA got him or her or whoever, but it has to be big. They cannot fumble the ball on their very first pay-per-view back. Do not hype up something that's going to end up being a disappointment. I want this to be somebody big. It's not going to be Okada.
If they didn't already previously
Okada's
announce
already been announced. So we already know Okada's going to be there. So it's not Okada. Ozzy, look, it could be Ronda Rousey, but Rousey has been pretty clear that she doesn't want to sign anywhere. She wants to be a full-time mom right now. So I don't think it's Rousey either. And I think if Rousey ever has interest in doing full-time, I think she's going to look to Ring of Honor and AEW first because of the business that she's already done with them, and because her friend Marina Shafir is already there. So it has to be on this. And what MK is saying 100%, it has to be on the lines. To me, it doesn't have to be bigger than a Christian Cage or Kurt Angle or Sting, but it has to be on the level of one of those three names. If it's anything lower than a Christian Cage, a Kurt Angle, or a Sting, it's not good. It's not a good thing for them. They have to. It has to deliver big.
I think it's Mercedes.
I want them to hit a home run right out of the park with this.
Well, I think it's Mercedes just for the simple fact that that's where Trinity's at.
Look, and if Trinity's there for long term, I think it's a great thing. I know, Greg, I know you say you want to temper expectations, and I completely understand that, but they set the expectations today. They put out, you won't believe who's showing up. The worlds are colliding. Signing one of the biggest signings in the history of TNA, Scott D'Amore's words, not mine. It has to be someone along the lines of Mercedes Moné. And if Trinity is there for at least like the next year plus, I could see Mercedes coming in and signing a 1-year deal with them. That Knockouts division is stacked. And if they lose Deonna Purrazzo and they add Mercedes Moné, it's a wash. They're not gonna miss. No offense to Deonna. Deonna's great, but they're not gonna miss a beat. If they lose Deonna and they add Mercedes Moné to that Knockouts roster,
because there's no major men's free agent right now out there. Yeah, there you go. I mean, again,
James is a free agent, but she's been an impact at TNA more
that
often
ain't
than
gonna
not
be
the last few years. So that would not be a big. That would not be a big thing. That would definitely be an LOL TNA moment. They do not want to do that.
No, MK saying MJ. Wouldn't that be funny if it's just like the deals are he's re-signed, but He's re-signed. He's I think he's 100% re-signed with AEW. But again, Scott and Tony could be shaking hands here, and they could be playing this whole bidding war of 2024, and he actually crosses the line the first major show of the year. And that's it's almost like a CM Punk taking the title with him.
There
expires.
actually is a way they could do this, because Scott said they're at the finish line of getting this person signed.
Yeah.
So whoever it is, they haven't signed this person. But
The
based
finish
on what
line
Scott
is-
has said, they have not signed this person to a deal yet. So let's just say MJF is
because we know
pummeled at
Joe's
World's
winning
End.
the title at World's
Joe
End.
wins the title. Adam Cole's the devil, and it leaves MJF reeling into the bidding war of 2024. And let's say MJF shows up at Hard to Kill, but instead of signing the deal with Scott D'Amore, he like kicks him in the nuts or something. I don't know. But if MJF showed up at an appearance of Hard to Kill, that would be a big deal. But I still think I feel like it has to be a big name.
God, now I'm wondering.
I don't want them to fumble this ball.
Now I'm wondering
right
if
off the
it
ball.
could be. Now I'm wondering if it could be MJF. Just as we already know, he's this just as a loan.
Greg's
behind
not on there.
Behind the
but
scenes,
I mean, I think the Good Brothers was a huge signing at the time. I really did, and I thought they used them tremendously, unlike what WWE has done every time they've gotten a hold of them. Man, I'd love to see the Good Brothers get out of their deal and go back to TNA, because they've been treated like garbage since being back in WWE. I hope they're happy with the paycheck they're collecting every week, and God bless them. But I'd much rather
see them in AEW.
Yeah, I'd much rather see them on my TV every week kicking ass. Like TNA, AEW, anywhere but WWE is just not utilizing them.
I wonder. And I told Matt this earlier today. I think Tony and Scott have a handshake deal. Man, maybe that handshake deal ain't Joe for a one-off. Maybe it's MJF for 2 to 3 months, where we think, or where the casual thinks he signed with TNA.
That would be
where
wild.
We know that he's re-signed with AEW, but the casual doesn't know that.
Honestly, that would be a very crazy and very good storyline. If they wanted to do that, if the two companies wanted to work together and do something like that, I think that would get the wrestling world talking for sure.
It's just like when Punk walked away with the title when his contract was up.
Yeah, there's so much more. There's so much more they could have done with that.
People didn't realize that the story they told, and then people believed that Punk left with the title, and then you see all of a sudden Cult of Personality hits, and you see Cena with an oh shit look on his face, and that was such a good story. You're right, they could have done a lot more with it, but behind the scenes made us believe that Punk was walking out with that thing, and so this is something that they could do. It'll be
I just hope whoever it is, I hope everybody's buzzing after Hard to Kill. I don't want their first pay-per-view out of the gate for TNA to be the joke all over again. We saw it for years. They say you only get one chance to make a first impression, but they're getting a second chance to make a first impression with the TNA branding again. And if they hype this, because they're gonna literally, it's gonna be hyped for an entire month now. Since the cat came out of the bag today, it's almost an entire month away from Hard to Kill. So there's gonna be a month of build for this. The shit's gonna be at a fever pitch, for that pay-per-view in a month's time. And if they don't deliver, I would be very, very disappointed.
All right, we're gonna put it into full gear, pun intended. We're gonna run through a bunch of stuff right now. Continental Classic right now, Gold League. Moxley's already qualified for the Final Four. Is it Swickland? Swerve and Jay White. Do they have to face each other yet?
Jay White faces Moxley this week. That's the final
Moxley,
match.
Okay.
It's lethal. It's lethal in Briscoe, and somebody's got to win match. It's Mox and Jay. and it's Swerve and Roosh.
In the blue division, what are we gonna do? Because Matt, I think it's gonna end in a 5-way tie.
No.
I think we're gonna have a 5-way tie. I saw how it could play out.
I think Garcia either beats or draws Brody Kane. That eliminates both of them. I think Danielson beats Claudio, and I think Kingston defeats Andrade.
I think it's going to be a 5-way tie.
I think it'll be a 3-way.
I think 5 guys.
And I think
are
it
gonna
could be
have
a
9
3-way.
points.
I think it could be a 3-way in the Gold League too. I think it could end up being Jay, Swerve, and Mox, because I think Jay upsets Mox on Wednesday.
Swerve has Roosh.
Swerve has Roosh. If Swerve wins, if White beats Mox and Swerve beats Roosh, it could be a 3-way in the Gold League.
You heard it here first. I'm predicting a 5-way tie in the Blue League, baby.
I
5 guys, 9 points.
You're crazy, sir.
Nope. 5 guys, 9 points. Charlotte Flair is going to be out of action for a very long time. Torn ACL, MCL, and meniscus. So it's going to be at least 9 months for her. Dominic Mysterio, a guy that has really been, I think has had a good year. He's done very well under the Judgment Day as a heel. I think he's done a tremendous job in growing as a performer this year. Announced that he has re-signed with the WWE. So that takes us to Monday Night Raw tonight and Dynamite. Let's see. Do I have a Dynamite graphic? I just saw the picture of FTR and Mark Briscoe all bloodied up backstage. I do not see a Dynamite graphic, so we'll skip Dynamite. We'll go to Monday Night Raw.
Well, we've got the Gold League matches we talked about. We've got Riho versus Saraya, and the winner of that will challenge Toni Storm for the championship at World's End.
Hopefully they don't beat each other's tits off.
I'm trying to remember what the other match was. There's another big match on Wednesday, and I'm blanking on it at the moment.
Monday Night Raw, Miracle on 34th Street fight between R-Truth and JD McDonough.
Oh my God.
We're gonna get a Nia Jax promo that Matt's gonna look forward to. Gunther and Miz.
I'm gonna look at the NFL game during that.
Gunther versus Miz. If Miz loses, he cannot challenge for the IC title while Gunther's champ. Nightmare Before Christmas with Shinsuke. So Shinsuke is going to tell us a story.
Oh,
I bet
there it is.
That's
Roderick Strong and Commander.
Cool.
Commander!
Fucking Strong is so funny. Tag titles on the line. Green and Piper Niven against Katana Chance and Caden Carter. Tozawa and Ivar.
And a big disappointment for myself personally. CM Punk's not scheduled for Raw tonight.
Nope.
Why you bring this man back? Why you make him sign with the Red Brand and then he ain't at TV the next week? What are you? What are you?
He's gonna have Roman Reigns' schedule.
Yeah, I was gonna say, are you Roman Reigns Punk now? Show up the works, CM.
But we will hear from Seth Rollins. Jey Uso taking on Ludwig Kaiser. And the tag titles on the line, Judgment Day versus the Creeds. Do you see either or both tag titles changing hands tonight?
I think The Miz has a better chance of winning the Intercontinental title than either of the tag titles have of changing hands.
Ooh, the Creeds have been pushed so hard, though, man.
Yeah, I don't see it.
All right. Well,
I don't see it.
For Matt Black, this is Jeremy Bennett. Thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. Thank you for tuning in to Lost in the Midcard. Make sure you follow, subscribe to WrestleZone on YouTube, and follow Matt on the Twitter at Rob Showtime, myself on the Twitter at JB Huskers. And have yourself a good week. Enjoy Raw, enjoy Monday Night Football, and all that fun stuff. Have yourself a Merry Christmas. But stay tuned to us on the socials for what's coming up next with Lost in the Midcard. We will not be live next week, but stay tuned and take care.